and then actually install it and collect the revenue.
Ross Williams has worked in San Diego's residential solar industry since 2010. He's never seen anything this dark for an industry that enjoyed double-digit growth over the last decade.
Sales have been 20 to 30% year over year. And that's brutal. I mean, no company can survive where your sales are 30% of what they were last year, right? It's just a recipe for disaster.
HES Solar had fewer than 10 employees when Williams joined the firm more than a decade ago. He bought the company in 2015 in part because the future was bright. The workforce swelled to 75 by the beginning of the year, but under new solar rules that took effect in April, Williams was forced to cut jobs in July and again in August. The San Diego company is down to 35 workers.
It's the absolute worst, absolute worst. So our culture is family first, and it's very difficult to tell people that I've personally hired, with that promise, like, hey, we're going to be a spot for you. You work well for us. We're going to be there for you. To say, hey, sorry, can't employ you anymore. It's extremely difficult.
California's solar industry employed more than 78,000 people in 2023, 67,000 in the residential rooftop solar sector. Industry officials project 17,000 of those residential jobs will be snuffed out by the first quarter of next year, and prospects for the rest of the year remain dark.
The market in real time under the new net metering is 80% below where it was last summer.
Bernadette Del Chiaro is the executive director of the California Solar and Storage Association. She says the layoffs are exactly what the industry was warning about when regulators were revising the state's net energy metering rules. The NEM 3 rule changes slashed the value of electricity produced by rooftop solar, and that has crushed demand.
What the 80% is sales, and it's measured both by sales data collected in the aggregate across the industry as well as interconnection application. So that's the first step of the interconnection process.
The economic impacts are only part of the story. The decline will also hurt California's efforts to reach carbon neutrality by 2045. That requires slashing greenhouse gas emissions, cutting air pollution, and dramatically reducing fossil fuel consumption. Stanford University's Mark Jacobson says rooftop solar was expected to account for about a quarter of that energy production, but this year's rule changes may put that target out of reach as solar adoption stalls.
Slowing that down with hostile regulations to make it more expensive for people to put up rooftop solar is just going to slow down a transition, cause more air pollution deaths and morbidities in California, and raise prices as well.
Jacobson has studied pathways for California to electrify the state's economy. He says it will require greatly expanding wind energy, utility-scale solar, geothermal energy, battery storage, and solar from rooftops. He says regulators should be facilitators.
Every opportunity we have, regulators need to make it easy to put solar on, not more difficult, and not listen to these naysayers who are trying to make money by outlawing the inexpensive use of solar on people's homes.
The rule changes implemented this year are being challenged in court. The San Diego-based Protect Our Communities Foundation, the Center for Biological Diversity, and the Environmental Working Group asked the First District Court of Appeal in San Francisco to force regulators to reconsider the changes. The challenge argues the California Public Utilities Commission failed to support solar in disadvantaged communities and didn't account for all the benefits of rooftop solar. Regulators are also required to make sure the solar industry grows sustainably.
All three of those things are statutory requirements in the Public Utilities Code, and the Commission's decision doesn't meet those requirements.
The CPUC asked the court to reject the challenge in a legal filing. The court decided to hear the case. Oral arguments are scheduled for December 13th. It's unclear when a decision might be rendered. Erik Anderson, KPBS News.